I'm Nick Sarina, formerly with the civil service, and I went into private practice, trained in law. Just a quick introduction about myself, and now I've got my small business. Dato, you mentioned that your book is for the future generation to build, for the future generation to build our nation. But I worry that the future generation is not equipped to build this nation into what it could be, what it can be. And looking at the state of our education right now, I fear that we may miss any chance of being a great nation. For me, first and foremost is education. But during my time, when I was going to secondary school, you would go to a government school. And if you went to a private school, there would be something wrong with you. But right now, anybody who could afford any parent who could afford it would send their children to a private school, because the state of our schools is just gone down to the drains. I'm sure a lot of you who would agree with me. Just a simple example, we have a former diplomat. He's from the old school. I could hear the way he spoke. But right now, if you see our current diplomats, they're not even able to string proper English sentence together. Because of our education system. There's no tenacity in the part of the government to improve it. And I feel that the only way to improve our future generation is to have a leader who is just willing to just do it and not worry about whether he's going to be elected again in the next 5 years. We have to find someone who is selfless and who's able to carry out what is good for the nation, and to get on with it and not worry about politics and just really be a statesman. Well, it's just my view. Thank you.
We should actually address that. You see, this is right in front. There. With already 9 leaders having guided us along various paths, and now coming to our 10th, we can no longer blame our colonial masters for our ills, guilty as they were. The next generation looks to us to have a legacy they can build upon. Their responsibility will be to continue our journey towards the aspiration we have held for 37 years, preparing them for that role by instilling the right values, providing quality education to equip them with the required skill is our responsibility. So there is a chapter on delivering what Malaysians want. And I'll read the chapter on chapter delivering what Malaysians want. We cannot continue to tai chi and pass the buck to the next generation, because the problem will get bigger and become too big to solve. We must accept the responsibility to recognize this persistent racial issue and several other key issues which confront us, the elephants in the room. 1, building a united nation, Bangsa Malaysia. 2, having an education system able to produce a workforce with the skills required for the country's development agenda. 3, reducing bloated and unproductive government spending, reviewing the Bumiputera agenda, encouraging religious tolerance. Now, we can ignore 1 elephant in the room, but 5 elephants? Then my last para, the conclusion effect. Just before, when this book came to an end, I was flying to Singapore, and 2 young executives were sitting next to me. So I asked them what they thought about the state of the country. They were a Chinese and a Malay. They were colleagues. And one of them said, "We are not in shambles, but we are not that great either." Now, we are not in shambles. Many ingredients of success are still intact. We could be great again, but the road to greatness will have to begin by an acknowledgement of our problem, the elephants in the room. and the willingness to reprogram ourselves, we now have fresh leaders at the pinnacle of our country's political and sovereign leadership, both of whom and the institutions they represent are bound by the oath of office to lead us fairly and equitably towards kesejahteraan and a better future. Fresh leaders create fresh hopes. This was in 2022. We pray that they have the courage to confront the elephants that stand in the way of our progress. And if and when they do, and address them with measures that may hurt us temporarily, we must have the patience to bear it for the sake of the next generation. But these personal sacrifices must not be borne on our shoulders alone. Our leaders too must show the empathy with the rakyat, walk the talk, and demonstrate that they too are prepared to make sacrifices by cutting down on the trappings and extravagances of the office. We're all in this together. Which road do we now take that will bring us kesejahteraan? Nick, on your point about religious tolerance, one of the chapter is on Jaafar. On Jaafar, to me, is an unrecognized leader, but he was the greatest fighter of all for the country, negara, as well as he started by being a Malay nationalist. He formed UMNO for the Malays, but he matured into a nationalist. That's why he proposed that UMNO open its doors to the Chinese, to the non-Malays rather, so that we become united. Now that would have, if had that gone through, but he was accused of being a traitor to his own race, so he left the party. Had that gone through, that would put an end to race-based and religion-based politics. Because if you are race-based politics, say UMNO katakanlah, race-based Melayu or MCA, race-based Chinese kan. If you want to fight, if you want to go up the political ladder, you must be seen as fighting for your race. That's why you have this bangsa dan agama. Similarly, for if you are Malay politician UMNO, you want to say that we must integrate, you will lose support in the party. For the MCA pun sama, you want to go up MCA rank, and you say we must work better with the Malays, integrate, you will lose support in the Chinese party, in MCA, because we are a race-based. Islam lagi tu pas. I mean, you have to fight to be seen as a champion of Islam, to appeal to the Malays. In fact, UMNO was a very liberal party dulu, but when PAS suddenly went up on a Malaysian wagon, UMNO felt that to counter that, they must show that they are more Islamic than UMNO. So that's where our problem started. So, On Jaafar was considered ahead of his time, but that was almost 70 years ago. Surely now we should revisit that idea and do away with race-based parties or religious parties. Have a Malaysian party. You can debate all the Malay issues, the Chinese issue within that party, so that you can strike a balance. But if you have one side fighting only for this religion or this race, then forever we are on a clash, on a collision course. I hope that in a way addressed but so actually if you want to a bit more about the Malay politics, I have a chapter, unintended consequences of the NEP. So I'm proposing there a new Bumiputra economic model, not Malay agenda, but economic model, to stress that it has to be based on participating in economic activities, not just having shares. Okay. But we can discuss more. There are a lot more issues that I this book mula-mula 240 pages, but I wanted to keep it thin because I was told that people don't have the patience to read a 250-page book, so I tried to narrow down to 145. This is macam, there was an old comic called Mad magazine. They were making fun of everything. I remember seeing a comic. This Nabi Moses came down from the mountain, and after talking to God and said, he was carrying 3 tablets. God, I really have to, but this is from a magazine. God has given me 15, and then one still dropped. 10 commandments. Asal 15, but because he broke once, still become 10 commandments. So buku I pun sama juga. It was too thick. I addressed the issue, but all I want to do is just create awareness. Let other writers take it up. Take it up. This is just to open the tap. Take it up and focus on each topic. So I hope I've done that. So it's not exhaustive, but by choice, intended to be brief and just relevant.
Had it been more controversial, you'd have sold more.
But I may not last. The other day, Zai Ibrahim had me on a podcast. He said, "Hey, Mish, why don't you get into politics?" I said, "Zai, I won't last. I will survive. I will be chucketing. Chucketing, you know what chucketing? Chucketing is a Kelantan word meaning tackle from behind. I'll be chucketing in no time."
And I think coming back to that Mukaddimah concept of nation building, we are at that stage 3 or stage 4, where our leaders at that quality is not the same as the first generation. You're going to have, as you can see in Parliament now, the quality of debate has been, we just shut our TV or our YouTube. We cannot stand anymore their debates and whatnot. But the thing is that I must say, in order for us to move forward, I lost my line of thoughts already. The thing is that it's very, very important that Dato, if you can see in your books the 7 missed chance of nation building, not just the historical part, but how we want to push the current government not to repeat what has been done before, right? And the frustration of the current leadership, I can feel that because I work with 4 ministers, with federal ministers, from BN time to PH time, still helping them now with the current government from outside. Our political scene and our political world, at a very high toxicity, very toxic already. It's very muddy. Many of us, I'm sure, have been offered to join politics, and we said no because it's too muddy for us to get in. That's why just stay outside the ring and try to push things. So if our leaders cannot do it, I always believe that in order for us to change politics, we have to change our society. We have to mold our society. The silent majority, especially those who are not too toto or takso or fanatics about our party or our leaders, to be the voice of reason for the rakyat, to push our political leaders. And the silent majority has to voice out. We want changes. We want education reform. We want institutional reform. We want policies for racial integration, national integration. And Singapore, we have a lot of examples. Singapore just amended or enacted Racial Harmony Act. This is second attempt they did it. We don't have any of those legislation at all. And we kept relying on Seditious Act to take action on all this racial issue. So I think it's very, very crucial that we empower our people, keep educating the silent majority for voice to voice out, because I truly believe that the power in people is greater than the people in power.
My name is Pujo. Okay, so thank you, Dato. I was one of the first few guys to read this book, and I was there at your launch. And one of the guys in the audience asked, "Has PMX been given a copy?" Yeah, so this is always on my mind. Has he been given a copy, and what has he done, or has anybody followed up with him? Not yet.
We have to follow up with him.
Yeah, why not? Yes, right. Because he's not just one man, right? He's got a team. Definitely his team would know about what we're doing here. So if they don't learn from this book, who will learn? So that's just my question, yeah. And also, I think Nick, right? You was talking about, the second one about public school and all that, yeah. Okay, so Prem is my super junior in school. So we went to a public school. So during the 1980s, 1970s, 1980s, there was so much racial harmony within us. So I was just talking to Prem. Nowadays, when my Chinese group has a gathering, the Malays don't want to go. Dia kata kolot lah, dia kata ini haram lah, itu haram lah, itu, because some of them are so engrossed with Ugama. You know, you're saying about Ugama. And during my time, I was line. I was born Indonesian. I'm a Malaysian now. I became Malaysian in 1986. So during school, I was neither Malay, Chinese or Indian. But unfortunately now, it's not like that. I think, datus and all that, during your generation, kan semua boleh, the word kamcheng. But nowadays, I see everybody is within their own community, within their own pockets. And even I went into schooling, I became the YDP of 2 colleges and 3 schools. It was the same thing. The Malays were within themselves, the Chinese were with themselves. And unfortunately, the teachers also had to do a lot of things on the computers. So besides teaching, they had to write reports. And unfortunately, that had to be done before they left home, or else they have no time with the family. So I think that's the thing that needs to be changed as well. And then when you change the minister, all the forms are changed. And you got you got different KPIs, and then sometimes the things that are required for the teachers to fill up are, to me, it's just a waste of time, right? They should be there teaching with passion. I still know my primary school teachers, although I've left school more than 50 years ago. But unfortunately, in this day and age, those teachers, or maybe students and teachers' relationship is not there anymore. So, thank you very much. And next question.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya Muhammad. Saya datang lewat sikit dalam untuk mengikut program tadi, agak lewat. Jadi saya tak dapat dengar mukadimah. Tapi daripada perbincangan yang tadi, untuk nation building, macam-macam perkara dibangkitkan. Salahkan politician, salahkan orang, salahkan yang semua. Bagi saya, untuk membangunkan negara, nation building, rakyat Malaysia, saya maksud sini, rakyat Malaysia yang perlu berubah, bukan politician, bukan guru, bukan siapa, rakyat Malaysia. Kenapa rakyat Malaysia perlu berubah? Mereka perlu back to the basic kemerdekaan dulu berdasarkan kepada perlembagaan negara. Tuan-tuan, Datuk dan semua boleh tanya, berapa ramai rakyat Malaysia yang mengetahui perlembagaan Malaysia? Apa dia perkara 153, apa perkara 152, apa perkara 168 di dalam perlembagaan sebagai rakyat Malaysia? Di mana jiwa Malaysia ni? Macam saudara cakap tadi depan saya, Indonesia. Kita sebagai Malaysia tak tahu perlembagaan Malaysia, tak tahu social contract yang ditandatangani, yang dijadikan asas untuk mewujudkan perlembagaan Malaysia. Di mana roh Malaysia, roh sebagai bangsa Malaysia, di mana? Tidak ada. Kalau roh Malaysia sebagai rakyat Malaysia tidak ada, bagaimana to build up the nation building? Semua karut. Jadi siapa yang salah? Jadi rakyat Malaysia, pendidikan, dari segi ekonomi, dari segi sosial, back to the basic. Go one by one to perlembagaan Malaysia. Itu yang perlu diwujudkan supaya roh sebagai Malaysia, jiwa, jati diri sebagai rakyat Malaysia, itu yang boleh membina ke arah pembangunan nation building. Kalau tidak ada itu, sampai bila-bila tak ada masa dan tak ada lagi yang akan dapat mewujudkan seperti Datuk kata, apa yang kita miss. So, seperti yang dibincangkan dari segi undang-undang, dari segi pendidikan, dari segi persekolahan. Kalau ikut perlembagaan dulu, perkara itu tidak akan wujud. Itu saja pandangan saya. Saya terharu untuk cakap sebab apa yang dicakapkan tadi, basic dia tidak dipegang. Jiwa sebagai rakyat Malaysia, roh Malaysia itu di mana? Di mana kita? Jadi balik kepada perlembagaan. Terima kasih.
I would like to respond to the last gentleman just now on that issue. People say great men or women thinks alike, right? And I wrote the same piece last 2 weeks called this one posting I wrote on Facebook called Fundamentals, and I promote the concept of Malaysian being a centrist, not far to the left, not far to the right, not terpaling Melayu, terpaling Islam, or terpaling liberal or terpaling secular. Because we are a multiracial country, we have to be in the center. Moderate, progressive. In Islam we call it wasatiyah, tengah-tengah. So what is fundamental of being a centrist? Fundamental of being a centrist is the person who adhere to our federal constitution. All the elements of federal constitution, we have to maintain it, status quo. Our founding fathers has had that wisdom to put and drafted a very, very beautiful constitution. You know, the social contract, the respect of other races and their rights and privileges, all there for us to uphold it, uphold it. That's number one on constitution. Number two, that I think we always forget. We always forget. Not just the constitution, the other fundamental is the Rukun Negara. And the Rukun Negara is always there for us to, you know, really hold and really capture. But as though as our politicians never want to touch Rukun Negara. In Rukun Negara, there's this one word, liberal, in it. Untuk mewujudkan masyarakat yang liberal, yang menerima kepelbagaian kaum dan agama. There's the word liberal there. Because of there's the word liberal there, the politician refused to say anything about Rukun Negara and just maintain about kepercayaan kepada Tuhan, whatnot. But the objective was never mentioned. Now, recently, I heard from my own children at school, they started to read back from the start, not just that. And you know, so it is there. So I think fundamentally, I totally agree with what the Tuan just said just now. I wrote the same piece last 2 weeks. We have to go back to the basic, the fundamentals, keluhuran perlembagaan, kedaulatan undang-undang, and of course, at the end of the day, to uphold our Rukun Negara, to be that nation that, you know, the great nation that we hope for. Thank you.